I restarted the live stream because it told me that it failed on Facebook. Just had to go back and delete the ones and blah, 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 blah. Okay, so Numbers chapter 36, we will get to in 1 second. What I was trying to say when the live stream failed on me was that we're finishing the book of Numbers today, and just I feel a good piece about actually pausing our morning studies for the summer, because it's summertime and routines change for people and everything changes. And I think come the school year, come the end of summer, we're going to maybe do a poll. I'll probably do it in the Revival Church group and just see what time works for people. And I'll try and pick a time that the most people can come. Because I moved it later, which was helping me with some of my scheduling. But at the same time, I feel like we lost a lot of people when we pushed to this later time. A lot of people are at work already and can't attend. So, so obviously 4 in the morning will be the most perfect time for everyone. Okay, but let's just finish up our chapter of Numbers, right? The book of Numbers ends with marriage of female heirs. What a great closing note, right? I mean, I think everyone was like, man, the book of Numbers has been so good. What we really just need to talk about to put that icing on the cake and the cherry on top is marriage of female heirs. But, so it's talking about, Numbers kind of ends with the people positioned on the far side of Jericho. And that's actually like the last verse of the chapter. It says, these are the commandments and the judgments which the Lord commanded the children of Israel by the hand of Moses in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan, across from Jericho. And so that's what's going on, is that they're across from Jericho. And then the book of Deuteronomy is going to take off with the second telling of the law. Deuteronomos, nomos is the law. Deuteronomy, that's nomos, law in Greek. And then the deutero is the second. So it's the second telling of the law. God is with Moses there still, because Moses has been there through the whole journey, right? But a lot of people have died, and another generation has come up. And so Deuteronomy will be this second telling of the law. And the first chapters of Deuteronomy is really just going back and recapping. It gets very repetitive, some of these stories, but it's because it's like, we're reading them as they happen, and then we're reading them as they recount them. But then Deuteronomy had a whole separate purpose. In fact, even some people think that like when Josiah, when they find the book of the law, is that the whole Torah? Is that the whole Bible, right? Some people think it was just Deuteronomy. That other things have been lost, but that Deuteronomy was very special in that Deuteronomy kind of condenses it all. It recaps the 10 commandments. It recaps the laws and commands. It recaps all these things that were very important. And so Deuteronomy is a big recap book, but it also makes Deuteronomy kind of cool and special because it becomes kind of like a highlight reel. So there's lots of really juicy, good things in there. And it's commanding Joshua what to do. So it's kind of, that's the final passing of the torch. We already saw Joshua chosen in Numbers, but in Deuteronomy is the official, I'm recapping everything you need to know, Joshua, so that the torch gets passed and the next book takes off. But Numbers then ends with this thing on inheritances because, they're kind of wrapping things up, and there's going to be tribes settling on that side of the Jordan. So even though the other tribes haven't gotten their inheritance yet, these tribes are getting them now because they're settling for less on the far side of the Jordan. And so it starts just talking. If you read through, it's talking about the land, giving it as inheritance by lot. And then there's these daughters of Zelophehad. It's funny, the other day, they were like, who's a Bible character beginning with X? And I immediately thought Xerxes. He's called Ahasuerus in the book of Esther, but I mean, his name is Xerxes outside of the Bible. And actually some Bibles, I think maybe the NIV or NLT, call him Xerxes. So I was like, that counts. And they're like, well, what about Z? And it's funny because everyone else comes up with Zechariah, Zephaniah, like names of books of the Bible. And I came up with Zelophehad. That's the one that I thought of. But we had been reading it in Numbers, so it was fresh on my mind. But these are the women who, weren't going to have, they didn't have any brothers. And so the land was going to pass through these women. And they gave the women some restrictions saying, listen, we'll let the land pass through you, but you need to marry someone from your tribe, because when the land was passed from son to son to son to son to son, there's a genetic trail. And that way Manasseh's land always stayed in Manasseh. And they could sell it, but the year of Jubilee, it came back. That even gets mentioned in here somewhere. There's a year of Jubilee, probably towards the end. Blah, 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 blah. Who finds... verse 4, not towards the end. When the year of Jubilee, the children of the kingdom comes, the heirs will be added to the inheritance of the tribe from which they marry. But the idea is, the inheritance was supposed to stay in the tribes. And good morning, Laura. I always see you guys when you comment. I just, if I have to click a button. You watch me every morning do this, and that's because I'm hitting a button to say, let me see comments from Facebook and YouTube. I get them both. So here's the deal, is that the inheritance is supposed to stay in the family. So it's easy when you give it all to your sons, because your sons are your blood relatives. They give it to their sons, they give it to their sons, and they give it to their sons, period. And then it doesn't matter who they marry. You can marry a woman from any tribe, because it's your babies who are going to be genetically, and they might be half Gad or half Asher. But if the dad's from Manasseh and the son's from Manasseh, officially he's from Manasseh. And it is true, if they always are marrying women outside the tribe, genetically, they might actually have less Manasseh blood than other blood. I mean, it's kind of like, if you marry a woman from Benjamin, then your son marries a woman from Benjamin, then their son marries a woman from Benjamin. Sooner or later, you've got Manasseh and Benjamin, half Manasseh, Benjamin, and Benjamin. Now you've got a quarter Manasseh and Benjamin. Now you've got an eighth Manasseh and Benjamin. But at the end of the day, it was the idea, though, is that the son that was passed through Manasseh, I think I'm making this a lot longer than I need to. But the women of Zelophehad had no brothers. So what are they supposed to do? Well, it says, you need to marry men from Manasseh, because then when you pass to your sons, it's still going to be in Manasseh. If you marry a man from Gad, then somehow a Gadite is going to get the land, and this land is part of Manasseh's land. And so that's the other idea, is there's these regions. Everyone in that region is supposed to be from Manasseh. So all that said, though, the important thing is this, is all of this, where was I wanting to go to marry? The inheritance shall not change hands, shall stay in the tribe of their daughters. Verse 7, every daughter who possesses an inheritance in any tribe of the children of Israel shall be the wife of one family. Thus no inheritance shall change hands between one tribe to another, but every tribe of the children of Israel shall keep his own inheritance. And I think the catch I just want to emphasize on, and I thought the word was in here, but the emphasis here, what is the emphasis to all this? It's that the inheritance would never be lost. That the Gadites would always have Gad. And those of Manasseh would always have Manasseh. Those of Judah would always have Judah. Our inheritance will never be lost. And when we are adopted as sons of the one true King, we become joint heirs with Christ, and our inheritance can never be lost. That's this beautiful thing. And it's a fascinating and kind of mind-blowing thing, but when you stand before God at the Bema seat, this is a worldly and unbiblical concept where God will weigh out your goods and your bads and see how the balance works. That's absolutely not in the Bible. Many people think it's all about, do I do more good than bad? It's not. In fact, it's so much better, and it's mind-blowing that God works in such a way. But you see, the idea is simply this. All the bad you do is wiped away. It is wiped away clean. So yeah, sure, do the scale theory. The only problem is if you put your good over here and your bad over here, the bad gets wiped off the scale. So no matter what, the scale will always be tipped in your favor if you're an heir. And we're going to be receiving rewards And it's like, I feel like I should have lost that reward. Can you imagine being rewarded for your faithfulness for attending church, for your faithfulness for serving? And you might think, Lord, I wasn't always that faithful. I missed church a bunch because I was just being lazy. Well, don't worry, because every time you came, you are adding to your inheritance, which is an everlasting inheritance. Well, I only served once and I didn't even have a great attitude. Well, that's okay. You didn't serve regularly, but those times you did serve, and it's way bigger than you deserve. Peter says, "Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus. Mercy has begotten us again." We're born again to a living hope through the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, that does not fade away, reserved in heaven for you. And so that's the idea, that God has reserved for you in heaven an inheritance. It's undefilable. It's incorruptible. It will never pass away. And so there's this beautiful thing, and we see it in the Old Testament, why the inheritances had this special rule in the year of Jubilee to reset things. Why? Because no matter what, the promised land was Israel's inheritance. And nothing they did could mess that up. Well, I'm going to sell the land. Don't worry, year of Jubilee, you get it back. Well, I'm going to do this or that. Don't worry, you'll still get it back. God has got an inheritance waiting for you, and you can't mess it up if you are one of his heirs, if you've been adopted into the family of God. And so, beautiful thing. And F.B. Meyer, on that verse from 1 Peter 3 and 4, he made the comment, how just like a little baby doesn't fully yet comprehend the inheritance that he'll one day receive, we too, we're like little kids. We don't yet understand the amazingness of the inheritance that we will one day receive from the Lord. But we'll stand one day and we'll receive it. And I still, if I'm of the mindset, maybe I flip-flop from time to time, but there are tears in heaven because he wipes them all away. It doesn't say that there's no tears ever. There'll be no more tears. And then he's going to wipe them all away. It could be tears of regret. But tears when we receive something we don't deserve, and everything we think we deserve to have coming towards us, it's all taken away. And there stands a lamb as though it were slain. And it's all because of him, that we're not getting what we did deserve, and we're going to receive a whole lot that we feel like we never deserved because of his abundant mercy. All right. So this is me signing off for the summer. And like I said, probably in the RC group, I will do a poll in a couple months asking what would be a good time of day to do our daily study. Maybe a little earlier. I think some people are at work already at this time. Other people are like, I sleep in. Well, I'll see what works for people, and I'll try and go for that going into the next school year, going into the end of the summer. Basically, when the home fellowships stop at my house, I will restart the live Bible studies. But I want to encourage you guys, if you're watching, I don't know who's watching. It doesn't tell me who watches. It just tells me people are watching, and I see comments. But come out to my house on Wednesdays. It's just a great time of fellowship and just hanging out together and just, we spent like 4 or 5 minutes in prayer yesterday. I wasn't feeling well. I actually had to go in and lay down. But we just hang out. And it's just a time for the church to be the church and to love each other and to build our relationships and have a good time and eat good food. Everyone brings such yummy food. Mila and her jalapeno poppers. My wife made this street corn salad. Oh, it was also good yesterday. So God bless you guys. Have an amazing summer. Hope to see you at my house, 4th of July, sometime soon. God bless.